what do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo, presented as always by our friends at Pure Options Craft Cannabis. Pure Options helping you get through the regret that comes with watching the NFL playoffs and the Lions aren't it. Getting through January, getting through any difficulties in your life, or when you're just feeling good and you want to chill and you want to have a great weekend, a great week. Pure Options is here for you. Go to pureoptions.com. You download the app, join their Pure Perks loyalty program, and also our Monday afternoon show presented by our friends at MUSX Quality Flannels. Jason and I are both wearing new MUSX flannels that we just received today. We look good. And even when I'm a little short on sleep and my eyes are a little, I look good. It's for two ugly guys, this is as good as as good as it can get, as good as it can absolutely get. And MUSX does that for us. MUSX can do that for you too. Go to gomusx.com where you can use the promo code FIXITINPOST, all one word, to order your MUSX flannel today and appreciate the comfort, the durability, the look, and look your absolute best self this winter and spring. Jason, how you doing, brother? I do hear your voice in my head when I take a shit.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
What's up, buddy? How was your weekend? How was Madison Square Garden? I need to go to Madison Square Garden, man. It's a mecca of basketball, right? I love basketball. I remember all those the Knicks teams of the 90s I loved watching.
It's a cool place.
I need to get there.
It's a cool place.
I'm scared of New York. I think I'm just old and soft. I read too much NewYorkPost.com and I see all those stories of everybody getting shoved in subways and shit. I don't want to go to New York. I mean,
that's the way I feel about Mexico. Did I get kidnapped? I don't worry about New York.
You know what? I tell you what, it's the same thing with Mexico as well. I get that because it is wild when you're in Mexico and you're like, dude, at any point someone could just snatch me. And it's like, then I have to wait for someone to come get me. It's kind of wild.
I remember watching Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. And have you seen that movie?
No.
Okay.
I need to. I love Denzel.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Really good movie. But so I don't want to give too much away. I know it's
when did they come out? I mean,
15 years ago.
Yeah, you're all right.
Still, if you haven't seen it, that.
That's on me.
But he is, the bodyguard in charge of finding this little blonde girl who gets kidnapped.
So it's like The Equalizer.
I've never seen The Equalizer.
Oh my God,
I don't believe it's real.
You need to go home tonight and watch 1 through 3.
Not going to do it. But anyway, every time I'm there, I'm like, that could be me. I could be that little blonde girl.
Wait a minute. Now, hold on a second. I listened to all your bullshit recommendations. Why is it that you wouldn't want to watch The Equalizer? Because I love it. I enjoy it. I promote it. I mean, that's really, what's up with that?
Give me a brief synopsis. Give me The Equalizer. And
I don't know. I'm not going to give you. No, what is this? No, I'm not going to give you a brief synopsis. It's Denzel Washington being a badass for over 2 hours. You stand up, you cheer, you love it. It's a feel-good story.
All right.
Denzel goes around killing annoying bad guys with punchable faces.
All right. Yeah. Sounds like my dream. I will watch it then. I loved him in the Pelican Brief.
Give me a synopsis.
What the fuck is this? Anyway,
you'd enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this is a good show.
I doubt
It'll be our first good show. We're nearing 1,000, Jason.
That is true.
We'll have to figure out what we're going to do for our 1,000th. If this is because we should get our 1,000th.
We should just celebrate it at 1,000 and
when the show says 1,000, not when it's 1,013 or whenever actual 1,000th is.
Yeah, if you want to go back and do the accounting, I think it would just confuse people. Welcome to our 1,000th show, and it says 1,013 on it or something. I mean, it's impressive that we've made it this far.
100%.
Regardless, 900, 800 shows.
Still trying to do one good one, and we're hoping that's today. And we're hoping
against all odds, Couch and the Rube have made it to 1,000 episodes. Oh my God. It's kind of wild to think about.
It is. You remember we were doing this 5 days a week, 2 hours a day for a while.
Don't remind me. Why do you got to ruin a good day?
Yeah, sorry. By the seat of our pants.
Jesus.
If you read my LSJ copy for those 2 years, I mean, I can't imagine there was a lot of good work done.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't. But it wasn't. It certainly was. Took some time.
You're blaming the show for that?
100%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I never take responsibility. All right, let's dig into our takes before we get into listener takes. What do you want to lead off with?
Coach my team.
You, man. People want to hear about this Michigan State team.
All right.
I want to hear about it. We're going to talk NFL playoffs. I mean, the line, it was depressing yesterday.
Okay, yeah. We'll
let's not be depressed and start the show off.
That's a good
With
point.
our new MUSX flannels on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So Michigan State wins at Rutgers, 81-74. And I had a number of thoughts coming out of this game, some of which I wrote in a column and some others, just other general thoughts. But there's this discourse right now that MSU is not that good. And it's not an MSU discourse, but it's a discourse that is coming from opposing fan bases. The Illinois fan base is everywhere.
Did Los write a column? Who's saying this?
No, but it's because their schedule has not been as tough as it will be, and not been as tough as it will be in some years. And there is no question that they will lose some games at some point in the Big Ten. That is what's going to happen on the road. There's almost no way they get. I mean, if they don't, then more power to them. But if they lose, it won't mean they're not a good team. It won't mean they don't have everything still going for them that they do. But what they have not done, of course, is lose the games that other people have dropped. They haven't lost to Minnesota. They haven't lost to Ohio State. They haven't lost to Penn State like a lot of the other top teams have done. They haven't. Northwestern, the teams beneath them, USC, they've beaten everybody they're supposed to beat, including Rutgers. Now, Rutgers, again, they kept a break when Rutgers has got Dylan Harper, who's banged up, and I don't think it would have made a difference in the outcome. I don't. Because I think the thing that's being missed with Michigan State is that they're actually more talented than people realize. And I'm watching Jace Richardson play on Saturday, and I'm thinking, he's a freshman, takes 9 shots, gets 20 points. And
so he should start probably.
We'll get into that a little bit. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so.
All right.
You got Cohen Carr, who's turned himself into a heck of a player who is indispensable during the game. Can't take him off the floor. And they really didn't. I mean, I know he only played 26 minutes, but it was like every time they put a new lineup on the floor for a while, Cohen Carr was part of it. And they understood. And he guarded a guy who's going to be the number 2 pick in the draft a lot. Now, Jaden Akins did as well and helped that, and they were switching a lot and other things. But Cohen Carr was the primary player on that, and his strength and athleticism and just sort of commitment to the cause allowed that to work. They have a lot of really, really good players. And do they have a top 5 pick on the team? No. But I don't know, like, you just roster, pound for pound, not coaching, nothing else. I don't think there is a team in the Big Ten, a coach in the Big Ten, that would not trade their roster pound for pound for Michigan State, and that includes Brett Underwood at Illinois. I think they have a lot of guys who are potential pros or borderline pros, and they don't have a lot of guys who are like, oh boy, they're out there. They don't have any of that stuff. It's a better team talent-wise than people are giving it credit for. And what you see, and this is, you have a day where Jackson Kohler gets in foul trouble, doesn't play well. Jaden Akins goes 3 for 15, right? Jeremy Fears, your starting point guard, isn't even playing at the end. Has as many turnovers as he does assists. And you went on the road against a decent opponent in front of their home fans, largely. And I know it was only by 7, but it was never dicey, really, at the end. You can do that.
Minus 9.5, it was. It was a little dicey at the end.
Problem if you bet them that late, what were you doing? The line was 5.5. Oh, I see. If it was 5,
no, I did an alternate line at 9.5.
Oh,
I thought they would beat him by 10, and I was right until the last second 3.
That is rough.
It was pretty devastating.
That is devastating.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this MSU team has more parts, more depth, more talent than they're given credit for, and I understand they still have to prove it against parts of the top of the Big Ten, but they've done it against a lot of pretty decent teams in a lot of different settings and won a lot of games that a lot of people haven't won. And how many people have Jace Richardson, Cohen Carr off the bench? Now, you can say they should be starting, but I don't think they should. Like, who would you bench in this lineup? Like, to me, it's much more important who's on the floor in the end, and they reacted really well to different guys being on the floor in different games based on matchups and how they're playing. But your best rebounder is Jackson Kohler. Now, he didn't play well this last week, but he should be starting. You have a 7-footer who works in certain matchups and not others. You want to find that out early, and that was Zapala. You have a veteran. You're going to start Jaden Akins. A couple reasons. I know he takes some grief, and he's in a huge shooting slump right now. But he also is playing really well defensively and is still a really good player. Jeremy Fears is your point guard. You're going to start him. And they've been at their best with that 3-guard lineup with Trey Holloman out there to start games. They're starting the right lineup. They just have such immense depth, and they have such counters. And Izzo brought something up in his Monday press conference. Opposing coaches just don't know what they're going to do. They don't know where they're going to go. They don't know who's going to have the big game. It is a pain-in-the-butt team to scout. And while that is sometimes...
But does Michigan State know who's going to have a big game, too?
Well, they have an idea what they want to do, but you're right. They can't count on certain things, but there's always been plenty to this point. And, we'll see that as it goes on. I just think this is a better team talent pound for pound than we... I think back to other Michigan State teams. Yes, the 2016 team had Denzel Valentine. The rest of this team would kick the shit out of that team. The 2019 team, yes, they had Cassius Winston, and they had Xavier Tillman. The rest of this team is significantly better. And this team does not have the pound-for-pound talent, maybe, that 2017-18, that won 30 games, did. But this team also doesn't put the ball in Miles Bridges' hands and have him try to dribble through traffic or have Tum Tum Nairn playing 18 minutes a game. Like, this team's better than that team. That team did not maximize who they were, even though they had more NBA talent on the floor. The 2014 team, which I think was better than this group, because you could put 5 guys on the floor who were, when they were right. But you'd rather have Jeremy Fears than what Keith Appling was down the stretch of that any day of the week. And so I just think this team is better than, now, again, they go to L.A., they play Minnesota, who's playing a lot better. They ought to win that game, though. They go to L.A. for 2. And it's going to pick up, and we'll find out a little more. But there's just no evidence to this point. The schedule is what the schedule is, that they're not really good. And the problem with the counter to the idea that other teams have played tougher schedules is absolutely true. But those teams have also lost to teams that Michigan State has beaten handily and beaten on the road. And I just don't – I think it's just a lot of
well, I think the concern is when, you do mention Rutgers is a decent team, but you look at their record, they're 10-10, 3-6 in the conference. When they, you look at the box score and some of the percentages, the shooting percentages, if you play that way against a better team than Rutgers, would the result end in the same way, right? Because some of the shooting with Akins, I know Akins plays great on D, didn't have any turnovers yesterday, but when you see the shooting and he's like 0 for 7 in the first half or something like that, that's when you're just kind of like, well, Jace does all of those things in 25 minutes so well. Why not? I can understand why people would say, why not start him like that? But my guy is Cohen Carr. I can't stop talking about Cohen Carr because of we always talk about the Xavier Tillman jump from year to year that guys can do and how rare it is to see. Because a guy like Tillman, really the big jump that he had after after a certain year. I just think Cohen Carr, after last year, the shooting woes and stuff like that, now you can count on this guy to shoot free throws at the end of a game, rebounding defensively. I just think it's unbelievable what he brings to the table, and I know people are excited about it. And if he actually gets better and better as the season goes on, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, he is somebody who's improved mightily through, from last year to this year and within this season. And I mean, you were playing
4-on-5 with him on the offensive side last year. Now you can actually count on him deep into games. That's amazing.
Well, and the reason you talk about guys who you want to start and not start, sometimes your starting guys are good enough. They get you off to great starts. That's why this 3-guard lineup is what they've gone with.
Right.
But when they're not, look what you were able to bring in and the value of that. I mean, if you start Jace Richardson and he's had a game where he's in a funk, or he hasn't had many, but he's had a couple games where he wasn't that good, then you don't get to bring Jace Richardson off the bench.
But maybe that would help Akins if Akins did come off the bench, where he doesn't have that as much pressure.
He's waited his whole life to be this guy, and I don't think. And so you still have this dynamic with team chemistry,
sure.
And it's always delicate. This team likes each other. It's worked, and everybody's okay in their roles. I don't think you want to mess with roles at this point.
I understand that, but it's just a team. Michigan State is notorious for getting off to slow starts, and I think as a fan base, it's just kind of like, all right, if we can plug in a guy here and not hurt some feelings, then maybe we could try to do it. But I can understand what you're saying. If Akins is the guy and he thinks he wants to be the guy and you don't want to mess up team chemistry, I can totally understand that side too.
And who finishes games matters, and I think the coaching staff has done a really good job this year, better than other years, of whatever's happening in that game, matchup-wise, who's playing well, riding with that person, going back to that person, finishing with that person. And that is what's most important. With Cohen Carr, they're down 10-3 in that game, and I talked to him about this in the locker room. He said he gets in, his first thought was, okay, get us going. Like that is something that, I mean, he worked all offseason on that ability to catch and drive like that. and something he couldn't do a year ago, and recognize where to do that. And right away he gets a bucket and a foul, and it's 10-6. And the whole score feels different. The momentum feels different. And that's one guy, one play right away when he comes in. And so it seems to be working. I get the argument. I've said this before. If you were to ask me to pick a 5 to win a game with, and you're going to play with 5 like a pickup game, I'm picking Michigan State's second 5 over their first 5 to win a pickup game. And I'm riding with Carr and Jace Richardson and Booker and Fiddler and Cooper over the first 5. Just because I think that they're that. Now, are there advantages the first 5 would have in certain spots, or perhaps? But
I like it's like, how dare you have to think about taking Jaden Akins out of the starting lineup, and then you're like, well, actually, I like the second 5 at the
Well, but
so it's like,
if you put Jaden Akins in the second 5 and put somebody else in the first 5, Jace Richardson, I'm not sure I wouldn't also still like that second 5 more, partly because Cohen Carr's still in it.
Right.
And I think he's the guy right now. And Booker, against certain matchups, does elevate them too. He has his best game against the most athletic teams usually. But it was daunting. I mean, during that game, I'm watching the way they play, the way they respond, the way they don't panic. There was a play in the second half that was, Rutgers had fought their way back. Akins loses the ball. Kohler picks it up. Clock's winding down. It's like it's 7. A lot of teams would think, got to go now. They took the time to make 4 passes, and then Booker drove in. I think it was Booker. It was, might have been. I don't remember who it was. Somebody drove in. I think it was Booker, and banked in a shot a good shot from like the elbow. They got a great shot right at the line. They had the patience. There was no panic. Rutgers was coming back in the game. There is a, and again, they're going to have to keep proving it. But all we have right now is the evidence that's there, and the evidence that's there is zero evidence that they're not as good as they're playing. And
that was a good test, Madison Square Garden. But I think, after this next couple of games, the West Coast trip, USC, UCLA, you go on the road, and when those, then you start believing more and more and more.
I really want to see them, and I hope Illinois is back at full strength by the time they go to Illinois. Illinois at Michigan, Purdue in East Lansing. Those games, they don't get Purdue twice, but those games will be really telling. And
because it was a nice win. It was a nice win, absolutely nice win against a Rutgers team. I don't think they're that good of a team, right? But it's the whole environment. It's the Madison Square Garden. It's those games that Michigan State would lose. To win those games, it's just it's nice to get slowly, gradually getting excited about the season.
I always say, the truth is on the road. And so far, look what Michigan State's done on the road. What is your next hot take?
Do you believe in conspiracy theories? At all? Ever? I'm not talking about the zany, the wackadoodle ones.
Very rarely, but once in a while. What do you got?
I feel like the NFL, I know that we want to say the NFL isn't rigged, but when you have 2 calls separately in each game, in the Washington-Philly game, where all of a sudden the guys kept jumping off sides, and all of a sudden they're like, the ref is like, oh yeah, I think we're just going to give him a touchdown. We're giving a warning. I didn't even know you could do that. I mean, did you hear that call? Listen to this.
Washington has been advised that at some point the referee can award a score.
What?
This type of behavior.
This kind of behavior? What is this? Did you know that was possible?
I did not.
I don't know why that the NFL would conspire in that game. But when you watch Kansas City and Buffalo 4th and 1 and they sneak it, and the 2 referees come down and they give them the first down spot, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Nah, we're gonna review that," and all this other stuff, and it comes back and all the commentators and everybody, Gene Steratore, like, yeah, that was a first down. You just have to kind of all of a sudden try to want to believe that the NFL is rigged. And I don't really care about the Chiefs. I'm not bummed out by the Chiefs. People that watch Taylor Swift and flip their shit. I don't care. It's nice to look at her than it is for Andy Reid. I'd rather look at her than Andy Reid any day. But I just don't know if I can jump on the NFL is fully rigged. But I can understand why people who watch these games their whole lives and sit there and go, I've never seen that call in my life. I feel like I knew all of the NFL rules. Now all of a sudden NFL refs are just opening their mic and go, you know what, if this guy does this shit one more time, we're going to just give him a touch. You can do that. You just, 7 points on the board. Moving on.
Yeah.
And I'm a bitter Lions fan.
I was mostly upset by the spot of, when it looked like they picked it up. And on the 3rd down, really, I thought Allen picked it up, right? What I don't like is when you have 2 refs walking down from each sideline to spot it, and they're like their feet are like 2.5 feet different. They're almost a yard different. It's like, how is that a thing? And I don't think there's a conspiracy with that. I do think, look, I know the Chiefs, what did they say? They've won 17 straight one-score games. It's incredible. And they do have great coach, great defensive coordinator, great quarterback.
They haven't had a turnover since November. Was that right?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stats in the game,
they create their own destiny a lot.
The Bills hadn't had a fumble lost
and here's
since
the thing.
week 3.
Here's the thing about the conspiracy thing. The Buffalo Bills are a better story than the Kansas City Chiefs. I appreciate the Kansas City Chiefs. I appreciate
Goodell, man.
I appreciate bullshit. The Bills are like a version of the Lions that have won more. They've never won a Super Bowl.
You're telling me that he wouldn't want Taylor Swift has brought more fans into this thing. I mean, they want everyone to watch it. They're trying to they play the Simpsons thing so they get kids to watch. Like, not everybody has to watch fucking football, and Goodell's trying to do that.
The ads are sold. The Super Bowl, people are going to watch the Super Bowl either way who don't care about it. It's going to do fine. If this was, if you had the Jacksonville Jaguars and this kept happening and nobody cared, you'd be like, Buffalo Bills are a great story.
But that isn't a ratings getter having Jacksonville.
I am much likely to. I'll have the Super Bowl on, and I'll probably be on the treadmill. But I am much less likely to give a shit about the Super Bowl, and than I would if there was.
But see, I don't get that. It's the
then
Super
I would have.
Bowl, right?
But
there's
if it
enough
was
money to put on it.
I'll get into it. I'm just saying. But if the Bills were playing in it, I would be much more engaged, much more interested in one. I will have to gamble my way to give a shit about either side. And
I had to do that yesterday.
I'm just saying, if the Bills were in, I would care anyway. I would want them to win. I'd want them to have it.
Right. I just don't know at what point in this offseason do we work on maybe having a different, you don't need a chain gang. We can kind of have
there should be
some sort of technology.
Correct. If you watch tennis, for example, the ball hits in. They have now very quick replays if the ball was in and out. Right.
Yeah.
They have if the ball hits the net, they know it based on electronics. Yeah. Like, they should be able to do this at the in soccer with some of the really quick. They're getting better and better at some of the really quick offside stuff. I don't understand in football why more of it isn't just done based on precision and electronics and where the ball is spotted 10 yards and all that.
In 2025, I mean, have you seen the Tiger Woods indoor league? I mean, they can sit there. They have a green that rotates and can mold it to whatever, you're playing on this giant 100-foot screen. Yeah. And yet we have, in a multi-billion-dollar sport, we have like 7 old fart guys that go up and down with chains.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just wild.
It's not
NFL's rigged.
Yeah, it's not great. Ooh. Yeah, no.
Lions are never going to win because the NFL's rigged.
Yeah, no, unbelievable. It's not.
Isn't it amazing though that Mahomes not even in the MVP race whatsoever? With 15-1, I know they lost the last game when no one played, but it's just wild that he didn't really have a great game yesterday. It's just the Chiefs, like you said, in those single-score games. It's just absolutely amazing. And is Andy Reid closing in on Bill Belichick? I know Harry hates Andy Reid, but at some point you have to go, this guy's a pretty damn good coach.
Yeah.
He is amazing. He likes nuggies, but,
Harry hates Andy Reid.
I can understand that. I hate him too when I lose money, but, you have to kind of respect him at some point.
Yeah. No, I would.
I'm just saying, we don't know what a catch is. We don't know all of the rules. It's just wild that we sit there and I sit there and waste all my Sundays and everything like that.
If you feel like I do about the Chiefs-Eagles, which is the most ho-hum Super Bowl possible, and I'm not saying because I would like to root against one of them, and I like Mahomes, I appreciate them, and I don't usually root against them. But if Washington had made it, or if the Bills had made it, against one of those two, Philly or the Kansas City, I would have had an easy villain and an easy team to root for. And that's where I would have put my money behind that team and enjoyed it. But
the NFL knows you're still going to show up on Super Bowl Sunday. And
if you feel like I do, Pure Options is here for you. Go to pureoptions.com because I will have several MGs in my system as I watch the game in 2 weeks, the final football game of the year. And I'll also be
long weeks.
I'll be sitting there in a muskox flannel, comfortable as hell. A couple MGs. It'll be maybe on the treadmill.
Super Bowl talk for 2 weeks.
I do take the muskox off on the treadmill.
You do?
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, it might be good.
Come on, leave it on.
It might be
up a sweat.
Yeah, it might be good on the treadmill. I'm not exactly sure. All right, do you have anything else before we dig into these?
Yeah, just real quickly on the Baseball Hall of Fame voting. I mean, does Los Monterez have a vote? How did Ichiro? We need to expose these guys. I don't know if the baseball writer who didn't unanimously vote for Ichiro. Was Ichiro the main guy? I know Mariano Rivera is the only guy, right? Derek Jeter didn't get the 100% of the vote. Does it matter in the end? Ichiro ends up getting into the Hall of Fame. But I just think it's annoying that you should have to come out and kind of explain yourself if you're not going to vote, right? If you do get these votes, I feel like you should have to explain. Bob Nightingale put his ballot out on Twitter.
They should be transparent. 100%.
Right.
Yep.
Are you just doing it because you want to just be the contrarian asshole baseball old fart writer guy? I just don't. It just drives me insane.
Yeah. No, it's no, very much so.
Anyway, I think that's it.
That's it. Oh, I had one other thing I was going to touch on, and I'm going to dig a little more into this. But Chris Solari had a story out today, and basically got the I will got the details on MSU's athletic budget, which is operated at a financial loss for the fourth time in 5 years. Some of this had to do with payouts to football staffers and women's basketball, and basically, but so they were about almost $17 million budget shortfall, and I'm not sure, the overall athletic department debt he lists at $91 million. Now I'm not sure. I don't think that's straight debt. Like, I think there's a lot of
do we need to start a GoFundMe? Is that what
donations and other things that aren't? I don't think that's is simple accounting, because if that's an alarming number if it was straight accounting, and some of that needs to be looked into. But I do think it's important to remember when you see stories like this, just how delicate and difficult this is going to be going forward when you have revenue sharing, and yet you're still supposed to spend for all the bells and whistles on all these athletic programs and nutritionists and everything. And I will be very surprised. And I know Alan Haller has said they are not going to cut sports. They're going to work with everything they have. I will be very surprised in 5 years' time if MSU doesn't have 2 fewer sports. I don't know what they are. I will just to me it seems, and I think it'll be a lot of places you're going to see 2 to 6 sports cut. It just seems very difficult in this day and age to be able to maintain a department and be solvent when you're, again, paying your athletes, that amount of revenue sharing. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be paid. I'm not saying some of this stuff shouldn't be scaled back. I was about to say, am
I supposed to feel bad for MSU here?
Again, no. It was done we loved what was done for 1 million years, and it was somewhat oppressive, and it created a system where you could pay for all these sports because of football and other things, and all that's changed. Yeah. But I'm saying just, you got like the next 5 MSU basketball games pretty much are on Peacock, 5 of like the next 6 or 7. You got MSU hockey games on Peacock later next month, and people get frustrated by that. This stuff is what's paying to keep any of this afloat. Like, you need that. You need NBC Peacock. You need all these folks in the media rights world to keep funding this at the level they are. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work right now. I'm very curious to see if MSU can get to a point with the number of sports it has now.
Well, you said 2 to 6. First you said 2, then
I think
2 to 6.
I think most schools will cut 2 to 6. I think MSU will probably – I would be surprised if it's not. I think MSU will work hard to keep as much of a broad base offerings as they can in sports. I would be surprised if they're on the high end of that. But I will be very surprised if most schools haven't cut 2 to 6, and I will be very surprised if MSU has all the sports it has now. I just think it's going to be very hard over the next 5 years, and there's going to be some real harsh realities that we start to see. Okay. Anyway, that's my own
good news before we get into the listener ones.
Sorry, yeah. I'm an ass. All right, let's dig into these listener takes.
Eric Schultz up first. Number 1, MSU hasn't had a team with this many legitimate guys who can beat you since 2009. 2, I said 17-3 or better by February 1st was the expectation. They did that. The expectation now should be go win the Big Ten.
100% agree with you. Like, at this point, if they don't win the Big Ten, I think it is disappointing, or get a share of it.
My team.
Because of the start they've been off to, because of how well they played. And obviously there are things that could happen, like a couple injuries, but that would be disappointing in itself. Like, if you're 8-0, and it's not 8-0 as we've just talked about in the Open by fluke, I don't think. I think they're that good. Then when you have a 2-game lead in the loss column on the rest of the Big Ten, at this point, the expectation should be that you play to the level you've been at. And doing that is not going to mean you're undefeated. But I think 16-4 will get you a share of the Big Ten. And I think at this point, with 12 games left, even as tough as they are, as well as they played, 8-4 is a reasonable expectation. And you're right on number 1 too, Eric. It's been a long time. You could argue that in 2013-14, for example, they had a lot of guys legitimate guys who could beat you, at least enough with that starting five and so forth. But Denzel Valentine wasn't the player he became. And Brandon Dawson, was pretty dang effective some nights, an imposing force. But this team, just in terms of number of guys and get you in depth and how difficult they must be to scout is different than anything that I've covered.
Dominic next. Number 1, the refs servicing Kansas City at every fucking turn makes the fucking playoffs the most painful watch. It isn't even hidden. Gambling related, but also reality related. 2, Couch can't talk shit about Herb Street's pooch so long as he's covering for Los Monterez. And 3, Chris Ilitch deserves the electric chair. What an intolerable cunt.
By the way, I on my way out to New York on my flight was Scott Harris, and I think his wife and child.
Really?
On the way back, AJ Hinch. They were going out for those MLB awards in New York where Scooball.
Did you say hi?
I didn't. I don't think they know. I didn't want to bug them. I mean, I did stare at Hinch awkwardly. Like I'm getting on the plane. Not Hinch. Sorry. Hinch I knew right away. Harris awkwardly. On the way out, because Harris is one of those guys that right away I recognize the face. And I'm like, wait, well, why do I know that guy? He's sitting here on the planes I'm boarding.
Right.
And so I had this like long, awkward pause looking at him, and he's sort of looking back at me. And I'm looking at his wife and his baby, and then I'm looking back at him. Why do I know this guy? And then
you want me to hold your baby? I can hold your baby if you want. I've done it.
That is true. I've done that on flights before.
One of the weirdest couch stories ever. Holding a stranger's baby. Falling asleep. Claims he fell asleep on a flight if he missed the show where he announced this.
So the story is this, for those who missed it. I was on a flight. My boss was flying with me when I was at the Kalamazoo Gazette, when I lived in Kalamazoo.
No kidding.
On the way to a Western Michigan football game, and I always booked this on 2 different aisle seats, but next to each other. And on my row, the other 2 seats were occupied by a young mother who was with like a 4-year-old and a 18-month-old who didn't have his or her own seat. I don't even remember if it was a guy or girl. And then, she's trying to read to the 4-year-old, but the 18-month-old is climbing all over her. I mean, it's impossible to do. So I said, and we had been chatting a little bit earlier. I said, "Do you want me to take her?" And so I did, and I just hung out with her, and we just chatted a little. Me and the 18-month-year-old.
It's so wild.
And then we both fell asleep. She fell asleep in my chest, and my boss in the chair next to me across the aisle woke up, and there I am with a 18-month-old asleep on my chest that he didn't,
So fast forward to years later, where instead of just going, "Hey, I'm Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal," you just stare at Scott Harris and his wife and child for way too. You just leer.
I was just trying to figure out who these people were, and then it clicked that it was Scott Harris. That's what happened.
What's up with Bregman, Scotty?
That's what I
would say.
Yeah. That's not a bad question.
Bullshit answers that you give.
That is a story worth telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing in downtown Lansing. You know how we feel about this place. Unbelievable place for a date night, to watch a game, for just about any occasion. And I love their menu. I think they do so many things well. One of the things they are bringing back, and I'm excited, their original homemade mac and cheese is back. It is tremendous. I've had it many a time, and it is back on the menu. So just
do you realize how fed up you have to be having 2 kids on a plane where you look at Kyle, you're like, all right, take the kid. I give a shit. Like you have to just.
If you see somebody wearing a muskox flannel, that's a trustworthy person.
True.
And you're thinking right away that person can watch my child. That's one of the many things about a muskox flannel.
You mind? Professor Xavier Booker is going to win the MSU a game in the tournament by being the dude at the free throw line against his own team. And bonus, Cohen Carr will shatter a backboard before he leaves MSU.
That would be fun if it happened.
Can you still shatter a backboard?
I don't know if you haven't seen it in a long time. So, but I mean,
they give, right? Like,
yeah, but they gave when Shaq was doing it too. So I don't know. Maybe if you're that big and that heavy,
that was 1992 and 3 there.
I don't think Carr's heavy enough. I think the key is you have to be like not only really strong and emphatic as a dunker, but you got to be like 300 some pounds like Shaq was too. Right. I think, and Daryl Dawkins and those guys.
Jerome Lane.
Yeah, those are just big. Yeah,
I mean, that shattered a back play. You won't have those. They don't make them out of that anymore.
No,
glass.
No, they don't. They don't. To your professor's first point about Xavier Booker, like this team would not have lost to Syracuse, despite its sometimes bad 3-point shooting. Would not have lost to Syracuse because they have such good passers. We always talk back to the idea of Ben Carter in the middle of the lane. look at the way you see Zapala passing to Kohler and vice versa, and Booker and those. Like, they have guys who are built for a zone, and Booker is certainly one of them.
Dan Martonio next. The ability of the MSU coaching staff to adjust and find the right lineup combination based on the opponent and game situation is a huge part of why this team has a chance to make a run in March. It was showcased on Saturday after the slow start, putting Carr on Bailey, etc.
Yeah, I mean, the Carr thing is so important, and I remember watching Aaron Henry as a freshman. And this is before he was an okay player. He had a 120-point game in the NCAA tournament. But what he was more often than that is that was not the most athletic team. And they needed one guy like him who elevated who they were athletically. Now, Carr is even another level of athlete. But he's a difficult guy to contend with. If you're defensively, he can match up to you. He's a pain to defend. He gets going in the lane. Nobody wants to stand near him when he's about to dunk. But athletically, he elevates everybody around him because of and that you get guys like that. And this is a team that has some good athletes, but he just changes them.
David Cox next. Enough. The Spartans are the most talented team in the Big 18. Carr, Richardson, Booker, and Fears will all play in the NBA at some point. Carr just outplayed the number 2 pick. And from Dave, Spartan basketball does have future NBAers, Richardson and Carr for sure. Undecided regarding Fears because of his size, and Booker because of strength.
Carr will be interesting. I do think he'll continue to work on that shot. And, if he is somebody who, like Jason Richardson, the older Richardson, really takes – Jason Richardson from freshman year to sophomore year became a really good three-point shooter. Not a great one, but he was a good one in college. And then he became a really good one in the pros. If he takes that sort of step and that becomes the thing he works on next, and he – because he does so many other things well, and he'll be able to defend, and he'll be, he's shown he knows how to fit into an offense. I do think he'll play at the next level. The key is, though, those guys don't tend to last if they can't knock down open shots, and so he's going to have to do that. The idea. I mean, he did outplay the number 2 pick in a lot of ways, and he gave him fits, and those are good things to have on the resume. But that, who you are as a college player does not necessarily translate who you are as a pro. I mean, there are very few college players you'd ever want over a guy like Cassius Winston, and that he's a guy who barely stuck in the NBA and now plays overseas, right? So that's not necessarily that happens from time to time. But again, I'm with you on this, though. I do think they are a very talented team. I would take their pound for pound talent over anybody in the Big Ten, because you look at Rutgers as 2 top 5 picks and has a couple other good players, but you'd take Michigan State's roster 100%. You look at Illinois, and Illinois would be the closest one. And might be the one when they're 100% healthy. And I hope they are by the time Michigan State goes on to Champaign. Their big man now has mono, so I don't know how long that's going to last. But I want to see those 2 teams full strength. I think that's going to be a grudge match from Illinois' perspective. I want to see it. I think that's a really entertaining game, and I want to see it.
Chuck Nichols next. If this team has a leader, it is Jeremy Fears. Neither Jaden Aiken's game nor his demeanor shows leadership. Drives me crazy that every announcing team labels him as such. He has been this player for 2 solid years. Above average athlete and average player. Do you think he gets into his head too much? Like a game at the Garden, like he's like, oh, I have to perform.
Yeah, he definitely had I definitely think he's just in a shooting slump right now. I don't think this had I think that was the case in the game in Atlanta against Kansas. I think he's gotten over that to some degree, but I think he was, when it's not working, it's like, I think he was a little frustrated by it. I think he's played better. Like in that game, he kind of disappeared entirely as a player. I thought he played okay, and he was part of the defense on Bailey. So to a certain extent, you're not wrong, and to other extents, I'm going to push back a little, Chuck, because he is an above-average athlete, no question, and he is just average at certain things, but he is a really good defender. Michigan State probably goes to the Final Four 2 years ago if they had realized that they needed to put him on the Kansas State point guard earlier, because Aikens got on him, and that changed a lot of things. Now, the kid had twisted his ankle as well and things like that, but But that change, and if they just realize that too late, and that matchup all of a sudden really worked for them. He can do things defensively at his size, and there's some versatility there that's not average at all. And he's just a better defender than a lot of the guys they have to put out there on the floor, including Jace Richardson, including Trey Holloman, and largely including Fears. Like that's your best guard athlete and guard defender, Jay Dinkins, on a really good team. So that is not average at all. In terms of creating his own shot and hitting as a shot maker, he's an average Big Ten player, average Big Ten starter. And but he does some other things at a pretty high level. So I don't think, in terms of leadership takes a lot of different forms. He's not a rah-rah guy. That's not natural for him. But he does lead by example, and I think he's somebody that when he talks, people listen, and there's a lot of respect for him on the team. So I don't. But in terms of, in terms of guy, get on my back, follow me, that Fears is much more that guy.
Apparently Dave has some more here. I guess Jonathan Smith has fire in the belly based on career success, but would it kill him to show it? And bonus, Zeke the Wonder Dog could be a national icon if MSU only marketed him.
I don't know. Zeke,
like what? Like ad for the Super Bowl? Or
dogs are kind of 1998. That's not really
watch your face.
I'm sorry.
What are you talking about? Dogs are great.
I'm sorry.
Dogs are so 1998. What a take. What does that even mean?
I don't really know. I just
dogs peaked in 98.
It's just not new anymore. Like there are a lot of people, I don't know, Zeke's not that special is what I'm saying.
I love animals more than people, so yeah.
Hey, we have there's a neighborhood cat that we let into the house that hangs out with me all the time. We're like best friends. Like I'm
you let the cat in your house?
Now it hangs out all the time.
Well, yeah, dude, that's what cats do.
No, but it
probably
likes
wants
us.
to go. Dude, that's not how you do it, though. You just don't let a cat in.
No, well, we've gotten to know
you stole someone's cat.
We didn't steal them. We renamed him, but we didn't. Or her. We didn't renamed her. Her government name is Peanut, but we call her Spot.
Is anyone out there looking for a cat?
No, she still goes home every night. She still goes home every night. She just comes over to our house. We feed her. She hangs out.
What is this fucking neighborhood you live in?
It's a great bohemian, west side of Lansing. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. People live anywhere else. It's really.
Should you get like a door so it can just walk in, like one of those doggy doors?
It comes to the side door and waits, and we let her in. And
for how many days though?
She was in the house for like 4 hours yesterday, hanging out, just chilling.
And when does the cat let you know it needs to go home?
It gets up and kind of looks at you, and then it walks out, and walks towards the door, and we let her out. It's incredible. It's great.
All right,
it's great. That is a story almost worth telling.
No,
but
it's
told anyway. We're telling. Yeah. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Cozy, spacious vibe. Great date night. I'm telling you, it's a great date night. It looks like it's not a place. It's just some cookie cutter place. Good vibes, great food. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown.
Have you forgot about it being in the house at all? Because I feel like that, it just goes up into a corner of your house, right?
She'll go nap in the den on top of the couch where she can see all the construction on the street right now because they're redoing a sewer project.
Yeah.
And when it was really, she comes, I've forgotten a couple times, or Elizabeth's forgotten, or one of us has left and had to tell the other, hey, don't forget Spot's in the house.
I guess it's our cat now. Travis Maynard, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But there comes a time with MSU's basketball team, like scoring 51 of your 81 points, when you no longer have the best bench in basketball, you have guys who should probably be starting instead. A great problem to have. Carr will be MSU all-time top 25 when it's all said and done.
This will be an interesting group. You talk about my top 50 list that I've done after every group finishes or player finishes. Where do they fit all time, and is there somebody on the team who belongs? By the time these guys are done, there are going to be a number of them are in the top 50. Now, keep in mind, basketball top 50 a lot easier to make than football top 50. The original list had a lot of pretty good players who weren't great. The Kirk Manns of the world, the Ken Redfields, that sort of stuff.
Damn,
a lot of those guys. So it's not as hard to make the list, but there are a number of guys who, like Brandon Dawson, on the list. There are a number of guys on this group that will be.
Richard Kane next. Number one, the no go-to guy narrative is kind of lazy. The saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, was invented to describe an MSU team like this. The go-to guy is the team. The team, the team, the team. And aside, fuck Bo. 2, Harry can't be trusted regarding the Chiefs.
No,
his raw hatred warps his brain when evaluating these bonus or baked dealer's choice. I have it on good authority that a one-armed man pushed that guy down the stairs. You need to FOIA Chicago General for their amputee records to identify this man.
Nobody pushed anybody down the stairs. That's not how that story went. It's not. We got.
Just like you didn't steal a cat.
We got. Well, the cat we not stole. The cat has come to us, and we've provided a home. That's all. That's all that's happened here. That's just.
Is that a reference to the Fugitive movie? Is that what he's talking about?
One arm. Yeah.
Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, that was a great movie. Great movie. Great movie. I
watch that again.
The woman I interned for, Pam Zeckman, at the investigative unit at CBS Chicago when I was a senior in college. She was in that movie at the end because she was like a Chicago journalism legend.
Really?
Oh yeah, she was at.
Is it like super quick? You have to like pause it.
No. You see her at the end. She's one of the journal. I mean, they put her in intentionally, and because when she worked at the Sun Times, she worked at the Trib and Sun Times before CBS. That was the place where they bought the Mirage. They bought the bar to catch undercover dirty cops. And I mean, they're pretty hardcore investigative journalists. And actually, in fact, you and I wouldn't be talking today if it wasn't for her. We would not be, because.
So we should hate this woman.
Yes, because without her, I don't get the job in Kalamazoo. Like, she was a reference for me that stood out to managing editors for a long time. And
what was her name?
Pam Zeckman.
All right.
And
so anybody pissed off at Couch, right? Pam Zeckman.
She's the
Say thanks a lot for this Couch asshole.
That's fair. Yeah.
Kurt Wisniewski, number 1, Jace Richardson is the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and it's not close. 2, Xavier Booker and Cohen Carr will be steals in the second round of the 2026 NBA draft.
Well, the Big Ten Freshman of the Year thing is going to be interesting because, obviously you have the kid at Illinois who's really good. You have the 2 guys at Rutgers who are going to have better numbers, and Bailey is the best of those. And you have Richardson, who's, arguably the best offensive player on the best team in the Big Ten. Like, there's a lot of different arguments. Now, the way this voting goes, Richardson's probably not going to win it. I'm just going to tell you right now. He's going to be first team all freshman, but he's not going to win it. It'll go to the highest, it'll go to, and it'll depend on what happens with the KJ kid at Illinois.
So the award's bullshit. That's what you're saying.
Well, I'm not saying that, because if Bailey was on Michigan State's team, he'd be putting up good numbers, and everybody would be like, "Holy crap!" He'd be affecting winning. Trust me, at Michigan State. Like, I don't think that's necessarily fair to him, just because his team around him isn't as good either. It's a hard thing to evaluate when you have great players on an otherwise average team, and you have a really good freshman. And again, it's not over. We'll see how these guys finish down the stretch. If Jace Richardson becomes like MSU's go-to dude in the final month of the season, then he's got a chance still.
Scott, you next. Cohen Carr and Jace Richardson both deserve Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year so far. I realize it likely goes to UCLA's Sebastian Mack due to stats, but I feel it deserves to go to an MSU player or the bench as a whole when you have the deepest team in the Big Ten.
Yeah, this is another spot where the award probably won't do it justice. Like, to me, Jace Richardson and Cohen Carr are, as important bench players as exist in college basketball. And but you get a situation where it's easier to peg statistically, and we'll see how things finish. The problem they're also going to have is when you get 2 guys like that on one team, they tend to split the vote a little bit. I think right now I would say that Carr has a real shot at it. Like, he is making a name in a lot of games. He is a memorable dude in a lot of games, and he's coming off the bench.
Wise Dildos next.
I don't think it's dildo.
Shit.
Dilios.
Oh,
Wise dildo.
Wise Dilios next. Sorry. Jace Richardson is the MSU version of North Carolina's Michael Jordan. Bonus. Coach of the Year honors for managing the expectations of 12 to 13 players that are not getting the minutes they deserve and would be getting at other programs.
Yeah, Izzo's done a really nice job. And I don't think that's always happened in the last couple of years as well. I don't think they've maximized everything. But the idea that Richardson is now, Jordan was a starter at North Carolina, but you're right. The idea you have a freshman who's a role player who's really effective and everybody knows is very good. And I think that speaks to, everybody in the roles and being happy there. I mean, it speaks to who these guys are, too. Izzo told a story today at his press conference, and again, he may have been exaggerating. He didn't hear everything, but they had an 8-hour delay on the way out of New York. I mean, it sounds like they get to the airport, on the plane, off the plane, they go to a hotel and hang out in the lobby for a while, come back, it's more delay. They're supposed to be home at 7 p.m., got home at like 3:30 in the morning. Izzo said he didn't hear one complaint from a single player. He said he was complaining constantly and upset about it.
Because they're on their phones.
But so and I'm not saying they were happy.
Devices watching stuff.
But they are not. It is a pretty good group that and I don't think even a good staff with good players. I don't think this dynamic works every year. I think they're lucky they have it.
Thomas, next. I might be riding the high of having two really fun MSU teams, but between the narratives, play style, and time investment, Big Ten hoops is absolutely the best winter sport. And bonus, cars need to be smaller again. I miss my 1997 Camry. That thing was the best.
Car's too big?
I don't
like
think so.
I want a truck.
I have a four-door. I think I like a four-door vehicle. But, I mean, if you love your Camry, why don't you look for one, like a 97 or something?
Well, those are not many on the road still, I'm guessing. I had a 2003 Malibu to 2013.
Was that the best?
No. It's somebody like my next car is going to be a truck. We have two cars. We have a Jeep Grand Cherokee, which I really enjoy.
Yeah,
good size.
That thing's a beast.
Yeah,
it's like having a truck.
But the other car we have is a Chevy Cruze, which wears me. I mean, it's like me crawling out of a muskox flannel, except not as comfortable. And it's not like it. So I go from one extreme to the other, and I would like to have a.
But maybe Thomas is a smaller person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That does help when you're a smaller person. Suburban man of leisure next with tepid takes. Number 1, Braden Smith may be the only white guard I don't hate. 2. Rutgers Derkak was trying his best to be stupid like Paul Mulcahy. 3, I love Susie Merchant, but Robin Freilich is her.
Freilich's a really good coach.
Can you say that? Robin Freilich is her. Do you get annoyed by that?
Less so than him. For whatever reason, I don't know why. Maybe
I think I know why.
Less common. No, I think it's just less
You're
common.
a big pro women's sports.
No, it's not.
Well, why would you like her and not?
I don't
him?
know.
I know. I just told you why.
I'm not a rational human being. I just think it's less overplayed. That's all. It's not. Yeah. No. What Michigan State's women's team did to Michigan was a pretty decent Michigan team. Like what I am waiting to see. And their schedule kind of stinks in terms of the high-end teams they play. Like the Michigan State women's team plays UCLA and USC are two top 5 teams in the country, both on the road. They don't. Ohio State's only on the road. They don't get those teams at Breslin. But it is very clear that they can overwhelm pretty good teams, average teams and bad teams for sure, but pretty good teams. I'm waiting to see if they can crack that and really, like they got a shot at a top 4 seed, and that means 2 home games in the NCAA tournament, which would be really cool to have that at Breslin Center. But it would help that, and again, if you don't lose to bad teams or average teams, that helps. But what would help that is if they can get one win somewhere where they beat one of these really premier teams in the sport, and I don't know yet if that's in their ceiling or not. I want to see if they can do it because they looked really good, especially in the second half the other day.
Scotty Green's El Camino next. Number 1, according to Wikipedia, the muskox is known for a strong musky odor that males emit during mating season, which attracts females. Smart couch, because we know what happens when gay guys hit on you. Yeah,
that's not going to be our thing. That's
2,
be a thing.
Well, it's your thing. 2, chemistry is obviously better this year for Izzo with this team, but it also seems there is much better offensive flow. It seems the ball doesn't get stuck as often as the previous few years.
Yeah, it does. It's been a lot better movement, and it's interesting because they've had skilled players who were good passers and great assist numbers in other years. They've had some teams that were just as good as in terms of assists per bucket and things. But I think some of that is they have not had a pass first point guard like this in a while, who also sees the game really well, like to the extent that Fears does. And Fears is somebody who doesn't, like Hogard, and he was really good at getting downhill, but he would also worry about his own points sometimes. I don't think Fears gives a damn about his own points right now. I think he knows they'll be there if he needs them. Fears isn't a guy who's trying to get to the pros right now. He's trying to win, and he knows if he's a winning point guard at Michigan State that'll raise his profile and everything else will come. And they do seem to move it. And I think some of it's because they also don't have Tyson Walker, which I'm not knocking Tyson Walker's unbelievable offensive player. Unbelievable player. But he was a guy you could watch a little bit. They don't have a lot of guys that you just give the ball to and let's see what happens. And that leads to movement.
Detroit Spartan next. MSU's basketball woes were always about not having the right bigs. Sapala was a bigger addition than anyone realized. And Baked, have Rube join you on the road. I'd like to hear his post-game presser questions. Yeah, but then I have to be on the road with those dudes. Holy shit.
I would love to hear those questions too.
Hey, Coach, who shot Jeremy Fears? Second follow-up. Do you know Graham Couch killed a gay guy?
Okay.
Those would be the two.
No, we're not going to have
No,
that.
can I
So if you think,
go to USC and UCLA with you?
I would like to see you with I would like to see you with some MGs and you from Pure Options at every press conference. What things?
Graham.
I'd be with Solari and Couch.
Graham.
I would actually like to see you at a press conference. What you'd actually ask? You'd probably ask good questions. No?
If I had one, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd feed you.
It's too much like pressure though, with you guys staring like, oh, look at the Rube's going to ask a question,
We would feed you questions that would piss us off. So I remember last year.
Oh, okay.
I remember last year.
Pass me a note.
Madeline Kenny, who's at the Detroit News for like a year, she had just started. It was the Champions Classic, and Michigan State had lost to Duke. And Michigan State's numbers against Duke aren't great, but they've been better of late, and that storyline has kind of run its course. But if you're new to the beat, you look at the numbers and you're like, boy, Duke's a problem for them. And she says to me, and I had gotten to the press conference a little late just because I had finished in the quick takes, and she says, has anybody asked about the record against Duke and why they're a problem? And I said, no, all you, but you should ask that for sure.
What a dick.
And she asked it. And
he got pissed,
He
right?
was not happy. It was amazing.
So you knew Izzo was going to get mad.
Yeah, but
You
that's
set her
sometimes
up,
part of it. You get great response. Yeah, and she was
was
good
that
at
like
that.
an initiation or something? You're
No,
kind of
it's
like
just-
hazing or something?
It was not hazing. It was just
know.
it was a good question, and she asked it. That's all.
And Izzo was pissed.
And she asked it. It was a good. It was a good.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's a what. So
Max McDonald, baked or brilliant? It seems like Izzo has found the key to the current system. Still go after high-ranked recruits, just not one-and-dones. Fears, Booker, and Richardson hit the portal judiciously. Zapala and Fiddler without recruiting over players that may develop. Kohler and Cooper and develop players you believe in Kohler and Cooper again, along with Carr and Holloman, all while maintaining a competitive family atmosphere. If this strategy works, Izzo will win more than one additional national championship.
He does have a sweet spot going right now. All it takes to ruin this, though, is guys to leave. Now, what they have is I think they have enough money to retain play. I think what's much more important in college basketball than having a lot of money to go a lot of money to go get somebody you need who's a frontline player. And we're seeing that not work out. Guys they're spending 1.5, $2 billion on different guys, different programs. I think what's much more important is that you have enough money to keep the guys you really want to build a roster and a culture, and that they seem to have found. But I think all it takes is a couple guys to leave, and the whole apple cart gets turned over. Is that what we said? Yeah.
Is that the same?
Yeah.
Are we taking a break or what?
Let's keep going for just a few minutes.
All right. MSU's guards need to be better going forward, especially when they play Purdue or Illinois again. And bonus, I've seen the script. The Chiefs win on a triple doink Eagles game-winning field goal attempt.
Yeah, feels like that would happen, doesn't it? Who do you think's going to win this? Your early thoughts.
The Chiefs Eagles?
Yeah.
I just think the Eagles are way too banged up. I mean, the center position, they were shooting guys up. I mean, their original center that was benched because before the game, right? He had back problems but it had to end up going in because the other. I mean, I just think that they're too beat up. I mean, Jalen Hurts and his knee. I just think the Chiefs, they just can't be beat, especially when you have the refs on their side, right?
I also think Spagnuolo going against. I think he's going to give Jalen Hurts some trouble. I think that what they dial up is going to be tougher, and I think it'll be harder for Saquon to have the big day that they need him to have. I like the Chiefs quite a bit.
Tim Horton, the last 2 minutes of any close basketball game is the worst half hour in sports.
It can be. Yeah, there's no question.
Try having minus 9.5 and watching free throws, fucking junk threes.
We've all been there, man. It's a horrible.
I deserved it. It was fun.
It was
It's a good sweat. Yeah. Chris Eastlick, number one. Imagine if this MSU team was more consistent from the game to game with 3-point shooting. I'm not saying 45% every game, but a few less sub 30% games. Just when you think they're about to slip, they keep fighting, even in games they're not playing well. It's enjoyable to watch. And two, Major League Baseball needs to eliminate deferred money. or they need to rein it in. The Dodgers are ridiculous.
Yeah, I would like there to be more financial fair play type rules like they have in soccer, where you have to. The rule there is you have to make as much money as you bring in. Like the books get opened up by the league. In other words, you can't just so you can't just. I would like there to be a little bit more of an even playing field.
But everybody that you trust that's a baseball guy, like Verducci and Buster Olney, are saying that it would have to be a monumental strike for things to change, right?
Yeah, it's probably not going to.
Right.
It's probably not. And as long as the thing that baseball has going for it is there have been enough stories of teams that aren't – the Dodgers until recently couldn't win anything despite having the payroll. And there have been enough lower payroll teams that still – keep getting in the playoffs and winning big to make it okay. I think if that stops happening at any point, and baseball's a sport where the percentages are likely that it won't, but if that stops happening, then you got a big problem. But until then, they'll get through it. It'll be allowed.
Captain Sparty next. Lions would have won the Super Bowl even if Goff played average against Washington, Philly, and Kansas City. Yeah, probably. I know. If Goff wouldn't have sucked against Washington, I think we could have won that game.
I was watching the game yesterday, watching both games, frankly, thinking the Lions would be fine in these games.
I mean, the Commanders, yeah, it's just.
But even in like
their D's bad.
Even watching Kansas City, thinking Kansas City's not going to run away from Detroit. Like Detroit, that would be a really good game. I'm not saying they beat the Chiefs, but they could have won that game.
Yeah. I know. Andrew Gauthier. Number one, having seen the results of both NFL games, I'm glad I worked late Sunday and watched Severance instead of championship games. We're getting the Super Bowl no one but Kansas City and Philly fans wanted. 2, Lions win against Washington 9 times out of 10. Picked an awful week for their worst game. And bonus, if Cohen Carr starts hitting jump shots, MSU is going to a Final Four this year.
I don't think they need that for them to get to a final. I mean, it would make a big deal if he hits a few corner threes, if he becomes the guy.
But it would be awesome.
The Bagrakis who hits the shot from the corner like Kentucky. Yeah, it would make a big difference. It would help if one of their, if him or Cole or somebody started hitting threes, or even if Booker got really hot from out there. If they start hitting threes consistently, because they're doing all this without being a hot shooting team. Izzo brought up the point in his press conference that he goes, we're not maximizing who we are. We're not it's not like we're one of those teams. So they're a really good team without maximizing who they can be because they're not shooting that well. And so if
I will say the one issue I had on Saturday versus Rutgers was just grab a fucking rebound sometimes. Yeah. And that's what Cohen Carr does. He grabs those rebounds.
Yeah.
Wish other guys would do that. Ryan Schultz, yes, Detroit should have played better against Washington and might have won, but they had a 0% chance of beating Philadelphia. A Super Bowl run was never in the cards with the pileup of key injuries. We all got fooled by the Minnesota game and we're high on copium. I mean, yeah, why wouldn't you get fooled about the Minnesota game?
I thought it was real. That was legit.
Right.
And I don't think Jalen Hurts is great under pressure right now. And so that's why.
And it would have been at home, too.
Yeah. I think they had a real shot.
Yeah, fuck. Ken Chu, NFL refs are Chiefs.
Well, I don't know about that, but it can feel like that at times. They do get there are calls where it feels like. But there were calls that the Eagles got that I thought were bullshit. Like Saquon Barkley, his foot wasn't even technically out of bounds yet when he got a late hit. There was a huge call against the Commanders before it was out of hand. It happens sometimes.
But you have to sit there and throw your hands up in the air when you see calls that you go, I have been watching football. Like, I'm forgetful, but I'm talking about people that have a good memory. Even go, I don't even know what the rules are anymore.
Yeah,
like that's what's concerning to me. Aiden's child next. I understand that people are sick of the Chiefs, but the notion that games are rigged is nonsense. The NFL wouldn't rig a small market team to dominate the league, but they do want the most eyes on their product, and a KC-Philly rematch probably doesn't do that. What are you talking about? You got the Kelsey bros. I mean, the Kelsey brothers are fucking everywhere, and you have Taylor Swift. A KC-Philly thing sounds great for if you're Roger Goodell.
Bills would have been great in the Super Bowl. This is where the thing is, and I think the Ravens
three-peat,
of Lamar.
Though? A three-peat?
I know. It's. No, I'm not saying they hate it. I'm just saying it doesn't move the needle more than the Bills. I don't think. And I think Lamar would have moved the needle, and the Ravens, who still might be the best team. Like I don't know. I mean, the thing that's screwed up. I feel like the Citrus Bowl should host the Ravens and Lions because those might be the two best teams still. To play the real Super Bowl.
Wish we could get some calls.
Play the real Super Bowl.
Because you're right, the Lions-Bills would be the right. That's what people would want to watch.
Gosh. Oh my
right?
gosh.
They would be excited.
The
about
Lions-Bills would have done numbers that the NFL could have imagined. It'd be the two tortured fan bases for different reasons because the Bills have sort of been there but come close every time and can't do it. And then the Lions that have just never been there. I mean, the Lions-Bills would have been like, it would have been almost hard on because you need a team to root against. You know, when the Cowboys are there, the Yankees, you know, you have the team you hate. Like, nobody hates the Lions or the Bills unless you're a complete ass in this world.
Rich Searing next. Number 1, the Bills got jobbed. 2, MSU Hoops has their toughest game still to come. Too early to get completely excited, but I do love where we are heading. 3, MSU's offensive line and defensive line will determine next fall's record. Big hopes for development and consistency without major injuries. I see 6-6, but hoping for much more.
Yeah, expectations will be a lot higher for Aiden Childs, for Nick Marsh, for the staff to, development. People start to expect something to, they've had some time now, right? You should see some development in the program, and I think that stuff's all fair.
HW next. I'd rather have Kansas City win it all and have other fan bases be as miserable as Lions fans. Buffalo losing how they did made me feel better about the Lions. I hope Kansas City wins it. Maximum suffering for all.
Lots of different ways to think right now. Nobody's the way you think is not wrong, and even if you need pure options to get there. Yeah.
Fart soup. I'd rather be the Bills than the Lions. It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
Yeah.
What was he talking about?
Would you rather be the Bills right now today?
No.
Than the Lions?
No.
Okay.
Why? Give me a reason why.
The argument is so here would be the argument for it.
Because you went to 4 Super Bowls?
Yeah, no, back in the 90s? And where this team is right now, where those two teams are, how they both lost in this playoff.
Right. But we talk about windows closing. I mean, if Josh Allen, he's 0-4 versus Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, But
their team, this was not supposed to be a good Bills team. They've had to rebuild on the fly.
But we're in the NFC. I feel it's an easier path in the NFC to 100%. Get to the Super Bowl than what you have to do in the AFC. So, and their roster was depleted from their previous, the Bills, that is.
So I would say overall, the next 2 years, Lions roster is better. I'd rather be the Lions. Lions
have Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell.
Lions have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Who would you rather have,
years.
McDermott or Dan Campbell?
Dan Campbell.
Right.
But Josh Allen is what the Lions don't have. He is the guy that keeps you as a contender. Like this is the Bills had a team that would have gone, 7-10 with Jared Goff, I think.
I know, but Josh Allen, it's just like if you have a weak heart and you're a Bills fan, man, the way he almost turned, like he runs with the ball like Walter Payton used to and just throwing it straight up in the air.
Let's take a really quick break. We'll be right back. Couch in the Rube presented by our friends at Pure Options, Craft Cannabis, and MUSX Quality Flannels.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. Mention Couch the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a Pro Grow 8th with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen, Bar, or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American-Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a MUSX flannel and find out. MUSX has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes Couch look good. MUSX is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. MUSX flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a MUSX flannel by ordering at GoMusX.com. where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at MUSX Quality Flannels. You can look and feel as good as Jason and I do at our very best in a MUSX flannel. I got to go muscox.com and use the promo code FIXITINPOST, all one word, FIXITINPOST, to get $15 off your MUSX flannel purchase. Very pleased, before we get back to our listener hot takes, to have a listener hot take in person. Mr. MUSX himself, the man who brings comfort and confidence to men throughout the world, Brad Hughes, who is... You run this operation that brings happiness and comfort. Thank you, Brad. We'll just say that.
Well, thank you, Graham, for just looking so darn good. I mean, you talk about how you don't look good all the time, but unless you're wearing a muskox, I think we just take you from good to great, man.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So thank you for bringing that sunshine to all of us.
My goal is to be a muskox model. That's really all I really ever want in life. So we're there, and so. We wanted to get your takes today, and where is your head right now?
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, this might have to be a take. I wasn't really thinking of it as such, but I mean, Graham, I think you wearing the muskox to MSG this weekend. I mean, I think you were the best dressed man in MSG. So let me just maybe start there. So that's not even a hot take. I think that's just a fact, as we all know it. But getting into something maybe a little bit more substantive.
By the way, I don't disagree. I just wanted. I don't sound humble if I come in and chime in and agree. So yes, okay. Yeah,
yeah, fair enough. So there's a lot of qualifiers here, but these back-to-back weekends that Michigan State sports have had might be the best non-football, non-title related weekends around. You think about the women's basketball. Obviously, with the massive win over Michigan this weekend and beating Illinois last weekend, the hockey team 5-6 from number 4 Minnesota this weekend, and 4-6 from Michigan the weekend before. And we all know about the men's basketball wins. Like that was a massive couple of weekends for Michigan State sports. So it might be the best ever non-title related, non-football related that we've seen.
That would be a good to figure out if, I mean, I'm sure there are moments out there that have been up there, right? There have been, a men's and women's basketball team winning in a regional final. There have been other great weekends, but man, that's a really good question, and it's partly because, women's basketball. And not only is men's basketball back up, but women's basketball and hockey are just back where they are. And then gymnastics is at a whole new level, and you see that stuff happening a week ago and like that. I don't – I'd be interested to know from our other listeners if anybody out there can think of a weekend that was this good. Now, there may be other weekends that felt like this because they were this satisfying for people, but I think it's up there.
And then there's the obvious factor is that the weather's cold, right? So this is muskox weekend, so that's just a bonus. That's an icing on the cake, where you get a chance to wear your muskox flannels while enjoying.
Well, as I've shown, you can do it. You can also do it in Hawaii on the beach. It's beachwear as well. It's underrated beachwear. So
yeah, I mean, Graham, you might be unveiling a little bit of something that muskox has in plan for Q2. But
I love it.
I guess we'll have to stay tuned for that. My next hot take here is related to my daughter. So I don't know how this happened. Maybe I'll blame Jason for this. But somehow my daughter continues to be asked the question of money line or spread. And so yesterday, out of nowhere, we were on a walk, and she said to me, "Spread." I said, "Okay."
But your daughter is young. People need to understand.
Oh, she's 2.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
my 2. That's an important fact here.
Yeah.
So, So she starts out of nowhere, tells me I got to do spread, and I said that's interesting, Chiefs or Bills, and she said Chiefs. So this is the second consecutive weekend she was spot on, but unfortunately, I was on the Josh Allen bandwagon, so I should have listened to my daughter. So that's a little bit of a hot take, I guess.
I love that. I love that you go to the 2-year-old for gambling advice. You know what? Frankly, most people's advice isn't any better than that, and the Bills were the more fun team to actually root for. So
they were, and I had one other thing I wanted to just share here. So you guys had talked about is this the hot take show? Oh, actually, let me ask that. Is this the hot take show? What's the official Couch in the Rube stand?
We call it the take show now. It can be hot, they can be baked, they can be reasonable, they can be whatever. We don't want them all hot, but we don't mind hot ones. So we want them all over the spectrum.
Well, I want to put something out there for everyone to noodle on. So what if we did a good, a bad, and an ugly, right? We did a good take, a bad take, and an ugly take. Maybe that's the baked take, right? The good, the bad, and the baked. I don't know, but I just want to put that out there. I've been noodling on that for a little bit.
No, it's a good idea because we've struggled with this show to know where we wanted to go. We've had we like it at times. Sometimes the take show becomes if like one thing happens. So say the Lions play a huge game without MSU or vice versa or something like that. We can get a lot of the same takes, and Jason gets really surly late in the show, and I can see it in his face, and it gets bad, and ill-tempered Jason is not good for anybody. So, I like the idea. It's definitely something to chew on as we move forward. What is the before we let you go? What's the latest with muskox? What do you have cooking? And tell people why this product that we tell them all about is so good, dear to your heart, and good for them.
Yeah, well, so I mean, we care about the details, right? I think that's a really important part of muskox. So it's how it's made, right? We're made in an ethically sourced facility where the cotton's part of the Better Cotton program, which is short for it's sustainable. I mean, every flannel on it has a locker loop. The buttons are made from recycled ocean-bound plastic. It's double brushed. They're heavyweight, but they still feel light, and it's sort of a tough balance to strike. So people just love it when they see it and touch it and feel it. Honestly, that's one of the best parts about being out and about is giving people a chance to touch and feel our flannels. So look, I mean, they're flannels, right? We're for everybody, but they're definitely an elevated product, right? They're not cheap. I'll be the first one to acknowledge that, but they're built to last. And I think in this world of like fast and cheap, doing things, slow and built to last is something that people come to really appreciate, over time. And so that's really the ethos of us. Like, hey, the muskox has survived millions of years. They're fine on their own, but are better as part of a herd. They, survive in cold, frigid conditions, and so we want to honor that in everything we do. So yeah, we got some exciting stuff coming on. We have some new patterns coming out next month. We've heard a lot of people want talls, so we're gonna be rolling out tall sizes in a couple of different patterns that we're really excited about. Our team's growing. That's exciting, and we might have some more news here on this in the coming weeks. But we're excited to explore some NIL partnerships here as well. We're a cold weather type of flannel, and so we're looking at some cold weather sports that might have a good connection there. So we're excited about what's to come here as part of our growth.
Yeah, I'm excited to be able to share what I think you have cooking with the NIL stuff, and I think that's really cool. And also the swimwear line, whenever that comes out this summer, we'll be there to share it. And if it's if it's a muskox thong, then Jason and I will wear those this summer on the beach for everybody.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I guess we'll just go ahead and let this one out of the bag. We thought about the thong. We decided against it. Jason and I talked a lot about this. We landed on a banana hammock. Uh-huh. So we're excited about the banana hammock that's going to be coming out here in the coming months.
Beautiful, Brad. We appreciate you. You're a beautiful man. We appreciate muskox. Again, go muskox.com. And for Couch in the Rube listeners, fix it in post, all one word, for $15 off. your flannel purchase. We'll talk soon, man.
All right, sounds great. Have a good one. Thank you.
That's Brad Hoos from MUSX. Fantastic stuff.
Got outpicked by his 2-year-old.
Yeah. His 2-year-old, so he goes to gambling advice. I love it. Yeah. I guess it's better than going
That would suck, though, if you ended up, your kid's like, oh, no, Chiefs. And you're like, fuck the kid. Bills. And the kid was right.
Yeah, no.
By the way, MUSX, I know that they're a sponsor, but I'm serious. If you have like a father-in-law like I do that you just don't know what to get him, get him a MUSX.
It's a tremendous gift.
He actually likes me now.
Yeah.
He didn't like me before, but he likes me now. It's amazing. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, it's like it lasts longer than a groovy donut, but the same effect. If people don't, it'll change the way people think about you. They'll know you appreciate them.
Until you put on that banana hammock.
Yeah. All right. You ready to dig back into these listener ones?
Yeah, man. Right. C-Dubs 91, hot take. Josh Allen should demand a trade to an NFC contender since he will never make a Super Bowl because the NFL is rigged. Bake take, all batteries should be rechargeable, and all things that require batteries should come with rechargeable batteries included. I'm glad we had Brad Hoos on because
MUSX take of the day.
I love that bake take. Yes.
Yeah. It is a pain in the ass. I mean, we keep a lot of batteries in the house, but it is a pain in the ass if you don't have batteries.
They're cheap, though.
Yeah,
the rechargeable ones are on
they
Amazon.
Don't last as well. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Okay.
You don't know that.
That's true.
It's better than throwing them away. You just put them right back on the charger.
100%. Josh Allen should demand a trade, and I think he will make a Super Bowl. I think Josh Allen will get there. Look how long it took Elway to win one. Look how long it took. I guess Marino never got back, but this happens to guys, and he is in that realm where he's kind of the other guy. I heard Bill Simmons and Cousin Sal talking about this. Like it's kind of like Hearns and
Thomas Hitman Hearns.
Yeah. Always making it. Never, you're that guy, but you're really great, and I think it will happen for him at some point.
Gavin,
but come to the Lions. We take
Gavin next, going into the playoffs with Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, and rookie Cole Bishop as your safeties in the AFC. Nonetheless, is inexcusable. The Bills' secondary as a whole was embarrassing. Brandon Beane needs to buy into winning, or he needs to be fired.
I mean, this was not supposed to be a great team, though. They thought coming in, a lot of people picked this team to win like 7 games. This was supposed to be a rebuild year. It was the year the salary cap had caught up to them and all that stuff, and it was supposed to be the down year. But when you have Josh Allen, there is no window, right? And this is the thing they have. And so, yeah, I do think they have to upgrade their roster. There's no question. But this was not supposed to be the year for them. Josh Allen just kind of took them there. I think I think a guy like Keon Coleman will take big steps and be a really good receiver for them. And I think the Bills will be fine.
Dan Campbell's tears next. Number one, excuse me. America deserves better than Chiefs versus Eagles. Chiefs win 34-31. 2, Cohen Carr is the best player on the team. And 3, Graham is out of his mind with his take that he would rather have it 0 degrees out than summer in the South.
People were trying to change my mind on this, but then
right, but it involves the people in the South though too, is why
correct.
You don't want to do it.
Correct.
Right. There's part of that with it.
So Sunday morning, I'm getting in a cab to take it to the airport and from Midtown Manhattan in Newark. Early Sunday morning, I get up. I don't know if I want to shower before my flight because the flight, you smell, you get sweaty afterwards. Anyway, I'm going to shower when I get home either way. But I decide I'm going to be clean for the people I'm near. So I get up, take a shower, 6 in the morning. I'm excited because I smell good going to the airport. I walk out of the hotel. Instead of calling an Uber, I'm like, I'm going to support the cabs in New York. I jump in a cab, immediately, half hour of fierce BO. And it just stuck to me. I was like, this is reward. So, and that's what I've picked when I picture the South just smelling like that all the freaking time. So that's that.
What a story.
Story we're telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing, by the way. So, yeah.
Half hour of BO.
Where there's
it's so brutal.
You want a place with no BO ever? Midtown Brewing Company. Smells good, tastes good. Yeah.
Wait, do you have a disease or something? Like, at least tell me you have a disease.
Yeah.
Like, you're just willingly living like that. DMB, number one, you can't objectively watch a Chiefs game and say there isn't some inside job with the refs or a deal with the devil. And 2, on the other side of it, what did poor Buffalo do to deserve this? Kincaid catches that ball. They are Super Bowl bound. Watching that makes me thankful Spartans aren't even close. It's probably better this way. That was a tough catch by Kincaid.
Yeah.
Having to come back. And
yeah.
With that said, he should have caught it.
If he had caught it, it would have been fun to see how that ended. Oh, man. I was really pulling for the Bills, and I didn't even realize it. I mean, I guess I knew it, but you know how you realize it sometimes when it's not your team, but at the end you're like really disappointed, and you're like, I guess I really wanted them to win that.
Troy Gillian next. Let's talk Pistons, fellas. They've earned our attention. Cade Cunningham will be a league MVP at some point in his career.
I think he's got a chance to be, who knows if he has that sort of season, but a guy who's pushing for first-team All-NBA at some point, the way he's playing. And if he keeps at this trajectory and stays healthy, the Pistons have a shot at it being even a top 6 seed. My guess, more likely they're a 7 or 8 in the play-in, but this has been I ran into our friend James Edwards at Madison Square Garden. He was coming for the Knicks game later that night, and I was leaving.
We're dropping MFers now?
And I can tell it just eats him alive that he covered all those shitty Piston seasons and now they're good. And he's, he wouldn't say this publicly, but I don't think he would have left if this Pistons had this season last season.
Oasis Dog 97. I know MSU basketball is good because other Big Ten fan bases are breaking out, but they ain't played nobody.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like you forget what it's like. I mean, I'm sure other fan bases have this sort of thing between them, but when you are a threat to other people, and Michigan State basketball has not been in a while, then people respond in that manner, and that's what you're seeing now.
Skylar Verdon next. A lot of people are getting butthurt because the analytics still don't like MSU basketball. It's okay, people. Similar to the Goff MVP stuff, it just doesn't matter. Win, and it will all work out.
It's one of the best things about college basketball is you play everybody, even if it's not home and road completely. MSU will, at the end of the next 12 games, MSU will have respect or it won't, but it'll be done on the floor, and it really won't matter. And then they'll play in March, and they'll have respect or they won't based on how they perform. You get to do it on the court. It's the best thing about college basketball.
And next, Xavier Booker's career is going to be more similar to Bingham than Jaren Jackson in terms of time to develop, but more similar to Costello or Payne in terms of impact towards the end of his college career.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know what the end of his college career will look like or how long he'll be around, and if he finishes at Michigan State, who knows? I don't know any of those things. I just, again, the thighs on Bingham were that he had those. I can't get over them. Like when you have those thin thighs, you just don't have quickness, and Booker is different in that regard. And I don't mean to point at a man's thighs and say that's why one can't be like the other. But I wish we could just get off this question here because I don't know where I'm going. But thighs matter. Let me just say that.
Spartan 18770. MSU's victories over Illinois and Rutgers are the ones that build Big Ten championships and a deep run in the tournament, not the easy 20-point victories that many of us want every game. And Bake Take, GoFundMe has replaced car and health insurance, Social Security, and day-to-day expenses. People keep thinking it's a blue or red problem, when in fact it's a have or have not problem. This take is sponsored by Spartan 18770 NFT coin. Invest in yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit. I don't know. Yeah,
GoFundMes are wild. They are.
People have GoFundMe for a lot of stuff these days. Yeah.
It's understandable for certain things, but other things you're like, all right.
We should have done that at the very beginning of the show instead of Patreon. Just go fund the show. See if we
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
We asked too much already out of these.
That's true.
Yeah. Dean Gilbert, this MSU basketball team reminds me of the 1999 team. So everything is in a 2-year cycle, as Couch says. And this year Spartans will be in a Final Four, and next year will be 2000 all over again with a natty.
I don't know if every if things repeat themselves like that. And if you think back to the 99 team, Izzo will tell you that team was actually better than the 2000 team. I don't know that that's true, but he'll argue that 99 might have been his best team. And it's who you run into. They ran into that, that Duke team in the semis. And the next year they ran into Wisconsin in the semis and then, were better than Florida. So some of it will be matchups, and you won't know those till March.
Matt C. next. Jeremy Fears will be first team all Big Ten. He's the best point guard in the conference when you look at the analytics, and it's not even close. And Bake Take, Connor at the Detroit News sounds like a guy that gaslights people on Blue Sky without the morality of socialism, wearing $300 shoes and seven for all mankind jeans. He really should be back at the Michigan Daily.
Your disdain for this man who you don't even know, Matt, is I respect the commitment to the bit, but I'm telling you, if you met Connor, you'd like him.
7 for all mankind jeans.
You would like him.
Is that a typo? Did you not?
I didn't.
It looks like an auto-corrected thing that you.
I just copy and pasted it. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was something that hip people knew that I didn't know, so I didn't want to mess with it. That's sort of where I was. Yeah.
David Jackson, MSU will beat Minnesota at home. That's not debatable. The hot take is that it is that the Spartans will go to Los Angeles and beat both USC and UCLA to become 11-0, including 6-0 on the road, ending the Big Ten race on February 4th. And big take. 2 at least of Nebraska, Iowa, Rutgers, Purdue, or Illinois need to get off their collective asses and start D1 hockey programs and expand our conference. Any of those schools could instantly be better than almost anyone in the CCHA. This is how to grow our sport.
It's not going to happen anymore unless somebody really wants to fund it, because the thing that's just happened now with revenue sharing and college sports getting so much more expensive and it harder for athletic departments to make money, there will not be an additional women's hockey team. Hockey is not a sport that's expanding. It is an expensive sport, and at best you break even, and if you don't, it costs you. Unfortunately, for college hockey, I would be stunned if there's an additional college hockey program really anywhere.
Start a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
David Jackson can start it. Corey Ostrom, number 1 MSU basketball, will go 7-5 the rest of the way. February is a gauntlet, and they will lose at UCLA, at Maryland, at Michigan, and at Illinois. I feel like they could drop one at home to Purdue or Wisconsin as well. It may be enough to win the Big Ten title, though. And 2, the Lions have to get faster in the front 7 to take the next step towards the Super Bowl. The Eagles were able to get to Daniels both inside and out in ways the Lions aren't capable with the current roster.
Interesting that Corey and David have almost the exact opposite takes here on where Michigan State will go in terms of what's coming up. 7-5 the rest of the way may not get it done. I don't know if that'll win the Big Ten. 6-4 I think will at least get you a share. But then again, Purdue lost to Penn State. Like, teams are dropping games they shouldn't, and some of these teams that were supposed to be contenders already have 4 losses.
Couch on fire. Nice Spartan weekend. Men's and women's basketball teams both won, and hockey took 5 of 6 points from Minnesota. Women are having a very good season without much fanfare at all. Men need to get to 10-0. At 16 wins, should get at least a share of the league title.
Yeah, as Brad Hoos talked about, this is one of the, it was a great weekend for Michigan State athletics. It really was, and I hope you got to, if you're an MSU fan, got to enjoy it in some regard, going to a hockey game, women's basketball game, whatever it was, and sitting there with a muskox flannel and maybe some pure options. And at the end of the weekend, that's a pretty damn good weekend.
David Zandy next. The MSU men's team has the medal to win the conference. The women's team looks good enough for a 4 seed. The hockey team is showing a lot more savvy and maturity this season and looks ready to win it all. And bonus, Homicide is the best show on Peacock. The 90s had some hits.
Homicide's a great show. The precursor to The Wire. Yeah, precursor to The Wire. I think Peacock is an underrated streaming service. I like a lot of the shows. I like a lot of the offerings. I like the sports they have there, including the Premier League. $7.99 a month. I get that you have to draw a line at some point, but that's not going to be my line.
Peacock.
Parker Weiss next. Every MSU hockey game should be on TV. Big Ten Plus is ass and overpriced. I refused to buy it, so I had to listen to the 9-3 win on the radio, which is a goddamn shame. Anything less than a Frozen 4 would be massively disappointing for this team. #hockey school.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is
Big Ten Plus is ass.
The ratings are what they are. In wrestling, even in volleyball for sure, do better ratings than hockey, and I don't know that changes. But I do agree. I mean, Michigan State is as big a hockey school as you can get. The difference is between Michigan State and other big hockey schools is Michigan State has other sports, so it's always splitting the audience a little bit. But anything less than a Frozen 4 would be disappointing for this team. They're that good. The challenge is it's single elimination, which is dumb in the postseason. If it was best 2 out of 3, I'd be really confident in this team getting to a Frozen 4.
Admiral Pippin next. Number 1, this weekend's football was boring. The worst championship Sunday I can remember in a long time. Even Chiefs-Bills wasn't exciting. Felt like the ending was inevitable. And 2, hot take. This men's basketball team goes 0-3 while on Peacock. Too much travel, not enough spotlight.
I don't think they'll like on the court. You don't know you're on Peacock. You're not out there going, man, if only people could watch us. We're on Peacock. That's not really that. Doesn't feel like that. But
is that what Jaden Aiken said? I would have shot better, but we were on Peacock.
Yeah, who cares on Peacock? Yeah,
unbelievable.
I mean, I understand the idea of showing off and playing well, but
Peacock?
Shep next. I like your boy Baumgartner's Lions coverage, but holy shit, you need to learn him some ball when it comes to hoops. He's spitting incredible takes on Blue Sky like Draymond Green can't shoot or dribble. I pointed out that he doesn't know ball, and perhaps he should check with Warriors players and Steve Kerr to see if they share his opinion. He got all butthurt and started crying about it. Help your boy out.
I missed this exchange, but we go to Nick for football, so I'll leave it at that. It doesn't mean he doesn't know ball. I mean, he's covered a lot of basketball, and I don't know, might even played a little bit, but we go to Nick for football.
Chris next. Ohio State looks primed to be the next juggernaut in college football. Between their endless quarterback talent, the ability to find the most talented receivers on the planet, and the Brinks trucks from their boosters, I don't see how anyone in the Big Ten competes with them for the foreseeable future. And big take, Barnhizer?
Yeah.
All right. From Northwestern has had the weirdest injury luck I've ever seen. First, he loses his teeth in practice. Then he loses the false teeth against Purdue. And now he seemingly broke his nose on a breakaway dunk against Indiana to seal the win. What a month for the kid.
He wasn't even that good looking to begin with, and he just keeps getting drilled. To the Ohio State part, the one thing we're going to see is the floor is going to get raised on a lot of teams through the revenue sharing and through everybody putting $16 million into salaries for their football program, $15 million, whatever it might be, annually. And so I think it'll be harder. I mean, they'll still be able to separate themselves, but it's going to be harder to separate themselves, and there will be more losses to the Purdues of the world who are going to be able to elevate themselves than there were before.
Steve McEldowney, NIL. It would be easier to buy a championship in basketball than it was for Ohio State in football.
Except it's not. You'd think it was, but you have to. Yeah, it is, but you have to put together the right roster, right? And because the teams with the highest NIL in basketball, Indiana, Arkansas, Kansas State, these places aren't winning. And Illinois, now they've had some bad injury luck, and I still think they'll be okay. But some of the for whatever reason, roster construction and the type of kids you get who are just out for the payday sometimes aren't the kid who are all in about winning.
Like the kid in Washington making $2 million.
$2 million.
Right?
Right, but they're not any good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Some dude, number one, the Rube said, where did this come from when I wrote about Mike Woodson's giant hairy butthole face? I was simply too distraught over the Lions game last week to write in about them. However, my fandom is fully restored, and I will declare that the Detroit Lions will be back and better than ever. Shakeups and renewed hunger at the coordinator spots will ensure the edge remains. And two, not a spiteful take, but Ben Johnson will end up not being a very successful head coach. He just doesn't seem to have the it factor. And from DeUper, based on a gut feeling and the initial press conference, I'm thinking we've got a Josh McDaniel situation here with Ben Johnson. Great OC, but not a head coach. He'll be back in Detroit. And baked, Vanderbilt bar scene probably sucks, and Tennessee doesn't have legal weed. I'm glad to see A.J. Hogard maturing and having some success down there.
Had a good day the other day, no question. Yeah, no, you know that the NCAA tournament committee says they don't try to put matchups together, right? It just happens. If A.J. Hogard winds up playing against Michigan State in the NCAA tournament, then that is forever bullshit. We can say that right now. Ben Johnson, we'll see. I understand the inclination to think he's more coordinator than the head coach, but we just don't know that.
Yeah. Tyler, I just fired off a 1 in a million parlay because why not? MSU basketball to win the Big Ten at plus 100. MSU hockey to win a natty at plus 600. Lions 2026 Super Bowl plus 950. And Scooble ML strikeout leader at plus 950.
I love it. Because once it's in your head, if you don't do it and that were to happen, you'd never forgive yourself. By the way, MSU basketball to win the Big Ten is just about even money now everywhere. I hope you got it earlier because while it still may happen, there's nowhere near the value there was a few weeks ago.
Bibby, SEC basketball has better environments than the Big Ten, and their conference is better, deeper, and more financially invested and fan-supported. I do not know why you continue to say they don't care down there. SEC basketball is the best basketball in college sports, and it's not close.
It may be the best league this year, but they just don't care as much. Now, there are fan bases that do care a lot, and it's grown certain places, but I'm telling you, I mean, I know people cover that league, and based on the fan interest and the intensity of it, where they get sent on the road and don't get sent on the road. The intensity of the interest is not the same in basketball in the SEC as it is in many of the Big Ten markets and some others. There are some markets where there are exceptions to that, and Kentucky's as intense as any. But overall, it is.
But a lot of people, they do, if your team is good, right? After football season, you jump on, but you're not as passionate. You're just like, yeah, I'll tune in.
They get into it.
But you're not as much of a diehard.
There are a lot of Michigan and Ohio States, places that are good basketball schools that care about basketball to some degree, but they are football schools and would happily sell their basketball program entirely for great football forever.
Big John Hogg next. Number 1, sad that we have such an ass Super Bowl to send us off into another boring-ass baseball season. 2, the SEC is beating each other up, and some Big Ten team will swoop in to end the natty streak. Tennessee-Auburn was an affront to basketball. And 3, Levy out. Spurs deserve better.
He's talking about the Tottenham Hotspurs, and he's the in charge of the organization. It's Tennessee-Auburn. Yeah, I mean, like Auburn is the team that I've seen them at times look great, and I've seen them probably 4 or 5 times this year. I'll be curious to see what happens to them in the NCAA tournament. I sometimes don't trust Bruce Pearl teams in the postseason.
No kidding?
Yeah.
Neither do I. Gambling related. Mark David Moyes is the Mark D'Antonio of Everton Football Club, who said legends can never go back.
It's a big win. Look, they're not going to be relegated. They're going to be okay, and that's really what's important for them. It's a 4-team race for 3 relegation spots at this point in the Premier League.
Sam the man. After being interrupted, talked over for the 50th time, the normally docile Graham will snap and try to strangle Solari in the next recording of Spartan Speak. And bonus take for Jason. Ludwig Abear will win the Pebble Beach Pro-Am this weekend. Is he feeling better? Of course. I always watch golf. I just don't know if he's feeling well. I mean, he was playing through it last week. So
I'm so into tennis after the Australian Open. There's like a tournament in the south of France this week that I'm into.
But even with the time check, like I tried, like the Alcaraz Djokovic match, I did
4:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, but I caught the end of it. But it's like, I can't get into it when that time change. I love tennis, though.
Early in the tournament, there are a lot more 7 p.m. because they're early out there, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. games, and I was able to or matches, and I was able to watch a lot of those.
Jake Hawkins, number 1, all the years I've been watching NFL football, never was less motivated to watch the conference championship games like I was yesterday, and now we got a Super Bowl that nobody wanted and being shoved down our throats. I'm actually less motivated to watch the Super Bowl.
Wow.
2, absolute spectacular win from the Spartans on Saturday. Way to hang tough and slash the demons of Madison Square Garden. Please cut down the turnovers. And during that game, I saw a player wearing the number 99 jersey. Never thought I'd see that during a basketball game. And 3, loss in Saturday's big win at MSG was another big Spartan win. Congratulations to the women's basketball team for completely pounding and laying it on the Michigan Wolverines at their house. Hell of a second half and performance by Theron Halleck. Keep it rolling, Robin Freilich. And bonus, Graham, since you're a fan of theater, did you catch a show on Broadway when you were in NYC? If you could pick any 3 shows you could go to on Broadway, which would they be?
Not on this trip. I had time to do it. Might have been able to do it at night. I wasn't done with the column in time. But I would go see Les Mis, although it's not there right now. Hamilton, for sure.
Wicked.
Maybe. I'd actually go off Broadway and see Titanic, which is supposed to be really funny and really good, which is like a spoof on the Titanic.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That was a national tragedy. Why is that funny?
Because it's 100 years old. And
people died.
You can make fun of it.
Oh. When's the 9/11 one come out? And finally, Hans Jurgen, number 1.
100 years from now.
Once you get waterproof winter gear, you'll never go back. 2, Mahomes, he just wins. Graham, he just loses.
Shot at me.
Oh, okay. 3, no time like the present. Strike while the iron is hot. Fortune favors the bold. There is no tomorrow. This basketball team needs to go after the natty this year and baked. The last MSU team to average more points per game than these guys were the 86 Spartans, who averaged 83 points per game, playing with no 3-point shot and a 45-second shot clock. Bring back the rules of 1986.
I don't want the 45-second shot clock. Boy, you get some slow games. I know they weren't all like that back then.
Bring the 4 corners back.
Yeah, we do not did not need that. But I do agree that you never know what the next year is going to bring. They could have a great team next year when you look at who could come back. Michigan State, and they could be seasoned, they could be motivated, and it could all come together, and they could be healthy. But I think they've got an opportunity this year to be in the thick of things, and so you don't want to waste it. We appreciate all of you for producing our show for us. We appreciate Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com. Again, Fix It and Post is the promo code for $15 off. We appreciate Brad Hoos from Muskox joining us a little bit with his hot takes and a little bit about Muskox. They are a great company, and that's why we've partnered with them. And they do make us look good when we're a couple of hideous creatures. We also appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Go to Midtown Brewing on Facebook. Check out their latest offerings. The mac and cheese is back, the original mac and cheese. And, of course, Pure Options. Go to pureoptions.com. Download the app. Jason, good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Room. from? I'm sorry about